Blake, are you an organ donor?
Against my better judgment, yes. I just hope they don't see that when I'm having my organs possibly taken or on the side of the road and say, let's let him die so we can get his goods.
Welcome to the Church Gear Podcast, where we pull the tech director out of the booth and onto the stage to share the most outlandish stories and hidden wisdom from the tech trenches. And now, here are your hosts.
I'm your host, Blake Hodges, and I'm here with my co-host, the Church Gear champion, Toby Walters.
Champion? Did I win something?
Well, you got to slay things, slaying work, slaying messages on Reverb,
slaying dragons.
Yes.
Yep, slaying tacos. Taco Slayer 79 should be my YouTube handle or something. What do the kids have these days?
Oh, it's Twitch, I think.
I don't know what that is.
Yep, so there we go.
Okay. So let's go to the organ donor. So Blake, did you grow up in a church that had an organ?
I didn't. I grew up in Murfreesboro, so we did not have an organ at New Vision.
So it's not the city you grew up in, it's the church. The church was modernized enough that, and you're what, 14 years old?
Yeah, sometime around middle school is when we went over there. We left Life Point in Smyrna to New Vision in Murfreesboro. And I mean, really, I've been at a Baptist megachurch my whole life, really, until recently going to fellowship.
I almost guarantee that Baptist megachurch used to have an organ. I grew up in a First Baptist church, and there was definitely an organ.
Wait, are organs pretty common in a Baptist church?
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's hysterical then that I didn't know that.
So if you rewind, and I mean, there's plenty of...
Wait, I do have an organ story. I went to the oldest Baptist college in the world, which is Union, and there was a giant organ in the chapel that we almost never used, and I was always like, what is this doing here?
Yeah, that is a very common situation. So that feeds into my story. I grew up in a little First Baptist church, and we had an organ, and there is perhaps nothing more political in a Baptist church and some other churches than an organ.
Wow, okay. I'm not expecting that to be the top political button, but hey, at least it's a tame one.
It holds some sort of intrinsic value with certain people that if you get rid of the organ, there will be bludgeoning and mobs with flash torches and...
Well, their great-grandfather's dust is still on that organ, you know? So, I mean, that's like getting rid of grandpa.
Well, what probably happened is great-grandfather gave money towards purchasing that organ, so, there's a family line. But anyways, let's get to the point of this.
Nostalgia is a heck of a drug.
I'm going to turn away from the point one more time that Babylon Bee had this amazing article, and it was pastor assures church congregation that the organ found a good home at the farm for the organs.
Oh, no.
Just playing off, the dog's dead, but it's at the farm. No, it's found a good home. So I was working with a church here locally in Nashville area a couple of years ago, and they had some gear. And Blake, do you know what we do at Church Gear?
We buy gear and we sell gear and we hang out with people.
With people. So we bought some gear from this church, and it was a Baptist church, and they had a couple motif keyboards, and they had some recording equipment. They had some stage monitors and such. And they said, we also have this organ. And they
can fit that in the van for sure.
Yes. So they had apparently just gotten permission from the church board or the pastor to actually get rid of the organ. This was a big deal. So he said, the pastor kind of knows what it's worth or thinks he knows what it's worth. Let's say that. And he said, would you guys like to buy this thing? And I'm looking, and organs can be huge. And it wasn't a pipe organ, so it didn't come with all the piping and all of that, but it still was a giant console organ, and it had 18 speaker cabinets that went with it.
Okay, I would have done the deal for 16 cabinets, but 18 even better.
So, knowing nothing about organs and the value of them, I started researching, and I started calling, organ dealers around the country. And they'd give me some advice, but they'd be really elusive.
Did you get any confusion I'm a kidney dealer, not an organ dealer?
No, I mean, Google's pretty helpful these days. Their algorithms are...
You're on a search list for that, though. They're like, this guy's trying to buy organs on the illegal market.
Yes. So, not on the black market. But they gave me some advice, and I came back to the church and I said, look, I don't know anything about organs. I don't even know where I'm going to store this thing, but if it will help you guys out, I'll give you $5,000 for it. And so the new worship pastor, who's 24 years old, was like, this is great. We can get rid of the organ. We can get $5,000. Yes, I'm in. And later that day, he calls me back and he says, oh, so the pastor wants a whole lot more for it.
Oh, no.
The pastor wanted like 15 to 20 grand for it because somebody told him that's what it's worth. And so I told this worship pastor, I'm like, totally fair. If you guys want to work with an organ dealer, if you want to try and find another church that, has that kind of funding to do it, great, go for it. I said, unfortunately, I'm not your guy. We're not your crew for that because we don't work with organs. So he totally understood. He's like, we'll see what we can do. 2 weeks later, I get a call from one of those organ dealers that I had talked to. And he said, well, Toby, we have a buyer for that organ. They'll come pick it up, and we can give the church $14,000.
Oh, hot darn.
So I thought, like, man, they wanted 15 to 20. I got them 14. Like, I figure they're going to be jumping for joy. So called up the worship pastor. Again, like, you think he'd peed his pants because he's so excited. He's like, now $14,000 for this stupid organ that we never use.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Yes. So he's like, done. I'm going to get this all set up. Fast forward a couple hours later, he calls back. He says, oh, no.
Are you kidding me right now?
What had happened, and back to the political thing, is that the church now had to vote on it.
Like the whole church or the church board?
Like every member of the church had to have their voice heard and vote on whether they're going to remove the organ or not. And fast forward 2 years, the worship pastor calls me up again and says, okay, we have approval to get rid of this organ. And I was like, buddy, we can't. Like, we have no ability anymore. I gave him the number of the dealer that originally 2 years ago had a buyer for it, but it was like, I can't do anything for you anymore. So, Blake, this is what these poor worship pastors are dealing with, these old school organs. It's honestly probably easier to sell a kidney on the black market than it is to sell the church organ.
Oh, totally. I bet I could get even more for the organ now, because I think my kidney was quoted to me at $10K. I decided to, pass on that deal.
Well,
though.
Your kidneys are disgusting. I've seen what you put in your body.
Well, yeah, after all the mixology,
it's nasty.
It's probably half a kidney left. Well, now I'm going to bring in someone who definitely has both of his kidneys and
they're actually beautiful. I've seen them.
Yes, I don't know what medical equipment we used for that, but that's what you get when you guest on this podcast. Director of Church Relations for Amplio Group, Dillan Howell. Dillan, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
So, Dillan, you do have 2 kidneys, but I hear you lie about other things in your life. Is that true?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Do you now wonder if he's lying about the kidney thing?
Do you actually only have one? Do you have no kidneys?
I do have. I think I have both kidneys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never had one removed, and I've
that
never
you know of.
That I know of, and I think most people are born with a couple.
You're an internet kid, same era as me.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the that kills people, Charlie? The horses that cut the kidneys out on that video?
I did not.
Oh, okay. I was going to say maybe you lost one unknowingly.
My sister only has one kidney.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. She had one removed.
Mm.
So it's in my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like they kept the kidney that they removed is in the family?
I don't know if they sold it or what happened.
Could have put some bronze on it. Hey, I have always joked I'd keep that stuff. We are derailing. Let's get to your lies. All right. So I'm going to read his truths here, and then we'll pick the lie. Don't tell us the lie, though, until we've said we've locked in, because we'll try to banter.
I won't say a word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would be bad audio. Here we go. Produced Catalyst conferences, had a band named Hello Forever, and I want that to be so true, because I think I know that band, actually.
That'd be the first time he's ever heard that, I'm sure.
Owns a shaved ice food truck, born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee, lived in Las Vegas, started career with 4 years of church planning.
Okay. Wow. I can't imagine him being a Christian and then living in Vegas. Is that even possible? It's Sin City.
Yeah, it's Sodom and Gomorrah. They wish they were as bad as Las Vegas.
Okay. I feel like, even just the little bit we know of him online, like we can guess some of these things.
The food truck is out. This guy owns a food truck. I can tell.
You know it.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, just look at him.
Sense it.
He's a cool
He definitely
look.
shaved something.
Yes. Whether it's the face
in
or
a
the
truck.
ice.
Yes.
Professionally.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to guess that he did not produce Catalyst conferences. I'm going to guess he, maybe worked with some other conference, but not Catalyst.
Dang it. I like to disagree with Toby in every instance that I can in life.
But when I'm right all the time, that becomes hard.
Yeah, and I'd rather be right than stubborn. And I bet you're right. I bet the lie is he just switched the conference. So I'm going to lock it in as well. Dylan, what's your lie?
My lie is born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was cheap because you live there now, right?
I do. We really wanted to, AJ and I really wanted to throw you guys off with this. So,
Okay. I like that you thought about it.
and it worked. Oh, we put some time into it. I had a whole team, my wife, myself, AJ, and we were just diving into this situation. And no, I was not born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. I do live there. I love Knoxville. I choose to live in Tennessee. It is my state through and through. Born and raised until the 5th grade in East Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where my lady and I met in the 2nd grade.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So if
she's wanted me since the 2nd grade.
Oh,
it's
man.
great. I have a photo of us eating lunch together. We both had bowl cuts, and we're alone. I have it on my phone, and it's just us eating lunch together by ourselves in the 2nd grade.
Can I get that for when we release this? Because that's
Absolutely.
adorable.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's funny because the photo is of someone eating,
Okay.
and then we're in the background. We're like, thumbs up or whatever we're doing, and we're eating alone. So the photo is actually of this person, but we're in the back, and we're like photobombing in 94 or whenever it was. And yeah, man.
You were ahead of the trend.
Did you start dating, 3rd grade then?
No, actually, I moved in the 5th grade to Tennessee, to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which is just outside of Knoxville, and we just stayed in touch. We just stayed in touch. And
Stayed in touch via 5th grade before really the internet.
Yeah,
How did that happen?
Because I was going back to Texas, twice a year to see family. All my family lived in Texas. So
Again, you're 5th grade though. You can't order an Uber to go see her. Like, how did you stay in touch?
yeah. So the telephone,
You guys were called.
What
This is
is that?
adorable.
the landline,
You would call each
with a cord
yeah,
and everything? Or was it wireless?
668-4267.
Whoa.
I am melting right now.
Yeah.
So then, were y'all dating then at that time?
Not really. I mean, whatever you want to call it in
Like
the 5th
official,
grade,
yeah.
6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, on and off. Because I would go back down to Texas and see all my friends. Well, slowly that became me going back down to Texas just to see my grandparents and Paige, right? And so my buddies would be like, "Did you know Dylan was in town? Yeah, he's with Paige."
Oh no!
So it was like that for years, and then we just got older and we both got into relationships. I started dating someone. We dated for 3 years. She started dating someone, was super serious. They ended up getting engaged. All these things. We broke up at the same time. I was on the road, legitimately on the road, and I think I was in Chicago. I just got off the platform, and this 903 number calls me, which is East Texas area code, and I answered it, and I was like, "Hello?" She's like, "This is Paige," and I said, "Paige who?"
How dare you?
Girl, don't be calling me. I've been trying to get a hold of you for years. You're going to call me out of nowhere. Her boyfriend hated me.
Oh,
So-
I'm sure he.
I mean, look at you. You're a beautiful man.
You are a good-looking dude. So
So he did not like me. And so I was like, well, hey, I'm actually getting ready to come to Texas, total lie, and hang out with my grandparents. We should get together. That's it.
So there's another lie.
Yeah. I wasn't going. I did plan a trip to go see my grandparents, but it was, again, based around the idea of going to see Paige. I mean, we were children, and I would tell my parents, hey, me and this girl are going to get married. And they would laugh. And I remember my pop saying, we call my pop my grandfather, he said, you need to rip that page out of the book.
Oh no!
Get it?
Play on
Page.
words,
Oh
yep.
yeah.
I remember that because it was such a stupid joke, but also funny when you're, in the 9th grade.
So then, what age were you when y'all started dating?
She moved, like actual dating seriously. She moved to Tennessee when I had just started planning One Life Church. So it goes back to one of the truths. And so I was 20, and so she moved. I think that's right. That's when she needs to be here because she'd be like, you don't know nothing. In fact, that's how we got engaged. Someone asked us, hey, tell us your story from beginning to end. And we fumbled over each other. We interrupted each other. We lied on each other. We just didn't know. And then I was like, this is genius. So we went to a park and I had the engagement read and I said, hey, we need to figure out our story. And so we started from the beginning all the way to the end, figuring out our story when people ask us. And at the very end, I said, well, to complete the story, we need to, boom, will you marry me?
And then did Hello
That's it.
Forever pop out from behind you, and there was a rock ballad.
Yes. Then Hello Forever comes out and we're like, yeah.
And it was entitled, Put This Page Back in the Book, or?
Yeah.
Yes. Put this page. That's genius, actually.
Yes.
And, we could still write some music. And,
Oh, yeah.
You should.
Totally.
Yeah.
Or take a page out of my book. It's like you mentoring
Yeah.
someone on how to like a song about go after your young love.
Yeah.
Take a page out of my book.
Exactly. So
Okay, well, this
There you
is
go.
amazing. So
And Blake, have you heard of Hello Forever?
I feel
I'm
like
not sure how you would have heard of Hello Forever.
it just, in my mind, that sounds like one of my middle school.
How old are you?
I'm 20. I'll be 29 in a month. So like that sounds like middle school time of like I heard one of those songs on MySpace or something.
Yeah, we were on MySpace.
We'll have to dig into that after this.
Yeah,
because
worship band called Hello Forever. We were a cover band, really. We had several songs that were original. We had an EP that released. We actually recorded it in Nashville at a studio called Viking Studio. I don't know if y'all remember that studio, but
nice.
back in the day, they were on Music Row. We thought we made it, and I remember recording in the studio and calling the producer who took on the project, and I quit halfway through the project.
Oh man,
Yeah, I was
Why?
like, I'm done. I wanted to go serve church full time.
Oh,
I didn't want to travel anymore. I was like, I want to go to church work.
well,
So
answering the call. So you weren't going to be a Jonah. No whale had to bite you to
exactly,
send you on your way.
exactly.
Well, speaking of getting bitten, you can get bit by church politics. Clearly, going off that Oregon story, and you were working with Amplio. I'm sure you see some of these like sensitive church politic moments where like you've had to help your clients,
Navigate some difficult terrain.
I was trying to say that like they're all that whole church I guess would be your client, but your client's having their own problems internally. Like, so
Right.
do you have any fun stories of that or tips on how you go through those
I think
moments?
right now the two biggest things coming out of obviously the pandemic and the COVID thing, in church politics, what I'm seeing a lot is around the idea of what do we do now still? I mean, just even spending time at Saddleback with John and his team just a few weeks ago, it was still very much so a COVID conversation. Now they're in SoCal, they're in Southern California where it's still now they're coming out of it, mask mandates are being lifted, it's all being happening, but you can only imagine in the last 2 years, the main political conversation in church world has been COVID-19, right? And so that is.
I live in Tennessee. I don't know what COVID is.
Exactly. Me too, bro. Me too. In fact,
red states.
Yeah, the church that I was serving at before Amplio, we were in Knoxville, and legit, he was like, "I'll go to jail before I shut down the doors."
Okay.
And so we were like, "Hey, you may want to consider not doing that." So that's where I was.
Yeah, render to Caesar what is Caesar's.
Yeah, that's where I was at. And then to add to that, just putting politics aside, the biggest thing that I'm seeing still currently, and that we will probably see to the end of time of church, is just poor leadership across the board in any way possible, in every way, just as far as even just communication goes. Like watching a worship guy or a production creative guy, that's where I spend most of my attention, if not all of my attention, is just bro or chick, you don't even know how to have a conversation with your direct report, and therefore you're never going to be on the same page, and you're always going to be frustrated, and you're always going to be angry. We got to figure this problem out.
What's the tension there? Is it that they don't want to tell them bad news? They don't want to tell them to change something?
I think internally we're artists, and we come into it with a closed fist. This is mine. This is what I do. This is the talent that God's given me. And then you have that lead pastor that comes in and says, "Yeah, but this is the direction that I want to take our church." Whoa. And I think we avoid that often as artists and creative guys and production guys, that I don't want any conflict. So I just keep my mouth shut, and I'm miserable for years.
And then you up and leave the church.
And then you up and leave.
Yeah.
And to add to this, sorry, I can get in quick and start preaching on this. You can see my passion. And very quickly, what I am seeing at a massive scale and pace, and just the reality that is happening amongst the global church in America, is that there is a massive exodus of creative, production, and worship staff.
That's not good.
It's massive. And unfortunately, church leaders and senior pastors and lead pastors, they're having a hard time seeing why is that.
And I'm sure we haven't been helping hiring a bunch of church refugees.
That's a good point. Church refugee. I like that.
So do you feel like COVID was the catalyst, or did COVID provide an opportunity for a lot of creatives who were already frustrated to be like, look, the timing lines up. I'm going to go out just into the business world, or, obviously at Amplio, like you get guys that used to work at churches, they're going to integrators, they're going out into, different production stuff, or just selling real estate. Do you feel like COVID was the reason, or just the marker in time that provided a good excuse?
I think COVID definitely plays a role in, if you're in church leadership and on any position, it doesn't matter if you're in kids groups, lead pastor, exec team, finance, it doesn't matter. COVID played a role in all that. To add to that, I feel like what I'm hearing and seeing, I just took a call yesterday with a worship pastor who called me to tell me he was quitting the church or his church, like the job. Well, my mind is like, well, what church are you going to? He said, I don't even have a job.
Whoa, he was ready to quit without a job?
That is what I'm seeing mostly in people.
That is a pure
They're
place
so
of desperation.
done that they are leaving and they don't have a plan.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm seeing. So I don't know if COVID's even a thing, and I think it is a small factor, but I don't think, 49%, 47% of lead pastors who go on sabbatical now do not return.
Wow.
That's lead pastors. So worship pastors don't carry the burden of a lead pastor. I understand. I'm an advocate for that. I get that. But I would say worship pastors and creative and production guys, that percentage is way higher.
So I know that, as we went to churches throughout COVID timeframe, it was like we'd see it over and over and over again. These huge churches, I would talk to the production director and I'd say, how many people are on your team? And he's like, well, before COVID, there was, 7 of us, 9 of us, whatever. He's like, now there's 3 of us.
Yeah.
It's like half or less. And they're having to do more. With, live stream becoming
Exactly.
not an option, but a non-negotiable.
Exactly. So live stream and broadcast, when that happened, talk about churches who didn't put any effort into that before COVID and what it did to their teams. Because what happened was, like the Elevation churches and the churches that I've served at, broadcast was always a thing. We always had money and budget and staffing, and that was we just did broadcast. But think about a church that maybe be the size of one of these churches, but never put any attention to it. And then COVID hits and everyone gets sent home and everybody's getting this family time and they're just doing stuff on Sundays through Facebook Live streaming and all that stuff. But the production team was like, no, sorry, you don't actually get that time because you now have to figure out how to launch broadcast and streaming and do it really well. We're not going to lay off that. Here's $15,000 and I want the best broadcasting experience.
That won't get you there? 15
Exactly.
grand?
It will get you an organ, though. We could get that
Yes.
organ.
Get you an organ and we'll save you $1,000.
Yes, 100%.
So it's just, it was a lot of strain, man. It was a lot of strain on church production, specifically in COVID.
So that's been taking people out. But then when you're do you give advice that you ever hear yourself saying you should stay in those moments? What kind of advice do you give to someone though that's at the end of their rope? I mean, Brian has to convince me to stay at church gear at the end of each day. So I know what he tells me, but
absolutely.
What do you tell people when you're like, you should stay?
That's great. That's great. I think it's 2 things here. I think it's one, if you're going to stay, here are some things that I would encourage you to be. First and foremost, be grateful. There are so many things you can be grateful for. I don't care how bad your position sucks at church. There are things you can be grateful for. You're more than likely unhappy or not happy because you see what the church can do, or you see what you can do inside the church, and you are always reaching, and you feel like you're being held down from reaching that goal. So you're frustrated as an artist, and you go bounce, you go do your own thing. Often we forget to look at the things in front of us, the things that we can be grateful for. So be grateful because it will change your attitude. In addition to that, if I'm talking to somebody that is done, like this guy yesterday, my advice to him is, hey, based off this one phone conversation, you're not going to do anything to build your career, and you're going to be furious in 6 months from now when you don't have opportunity as a songwriter for the church world because you didn't do anything. So based off the next 6 months to a year of your life will be based off what your 23, 24 looks like, 2023, 2024 looks like, based off how hard you're going to grind in the next 6 months. So it's content release every day. It's phone calls every day. It's networking. It's being at every event. It's really getting out there to prove yourself, because what you're going to do is you want to be a songwriter, you want to be an artist, you want to be this, you want to be that, but you're not going to do anything 6 months to a year from now to reach those goals because you don't even have any goals. And then you're going to be furious that nothing happened, and your 23 is not going to look any different than your 22.
So a lot of times it's like, I know this is painful, but it's better to fix this mess than to, have an exodus and then realize you're just in the abyss. Better to fix the mess than jump into the abyss.
You have to know, there. Man. You have to know, you've heard the term, the grass is not greener on the other side. And so, we've heard that term. And so
in Tennessee, though, it is.
It's
for all
always
these Californians.
greener.
I don't want more Californians to move, but they get here and they're like, oh, there's green grass. It is actually.
You know what I was just getting ready to say? I don't even know if I fully believe. I've been told that the grass is greener on the other side. It's not greener on the other side. It's greener where you stay and plant and nourish and
grow where you're planted. It's a cliche, but it makes total sense. Yeah.
But I'm coming in now in my position and where I'm at. I'm ready to fight some of that old church culture.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to push back on some of that. So
And tell us where you are and what your position is again. Explain how that lines up.
Yeah,
with...
I mean, my grass today is so much greener than where it was when I was a year ago. I was leaving the ministry. I was done. I was a church refugee. I was fleeing. Man, I wanted nothing to do with it. I was going to be a police officer.
Okay.
I was going to be the only cop in Knox County that wore skinny jeans and had a faux hawk. I was okay with that.
You were going to be a TikTok police officer from the law of the Lord to the law of the land.
So I'm getting ready to be a chaplain instead because I knew I still wanted to be something in our department. And so I'm going to be a TikTok chaplain for Knox County, which I already have planned out. I'm going to do that.
You heard it here, folks.
Yes.
Wow. I just pulled that off of his persona, and it was right.
You were dead right.
Okay.
As a chaplain, though, not as an actual officer. But so that was me. And I was having like severe mental illness issues, like anxiety. I lost 35 pounds. I couldn't track why I was losing. I couldn't eat. I was going to the chiropractor 3 or 4 times a week. My family were hippies. Our kids were born in our house on a tarp, and so we can talk about that later. But
ew,
I know. And so we do all of our healthcare is through that world. And so he was like, "There's nothing wrong with you." He's like, "There's so much stress in your life. You've got to." And I'm like, "I have no stress. I'm walking in my calling."
So if stress makes you lose weight and I keep gaining it, I've got the best job ever.
That's exactly
right. The fatter
right.
you are, the better. Okay.
So I've now since gained all my weight back. And so that's where I come in and say, most people who say the grass is greener where you stay and plant it are lead pastors who don't want to lose their staff. It's nobody else really that says that. I don't know how much we want to get into this podcast because I can really start.
I'm getting text messages from pastors as we speak. Shut him up.
And so I'm still very good friends with a bunch of lead pastors and I still hang out with them, but I am the guy that is coming. Look, I'm called to the church, man. That's my whole life. Like, I am everything local church. I will go to the grave serving the church. So I am not the enemy of the state. I am not the guy that's coming in and saying lead pastors and leaders and young execs and all that, Do some of us care about more on what we wear on our feet than how the health of our team is? Probably. But I am focusing on now, like, hey, you said that. Are you saying that because you heard that from your pastor 20 years ago? Like, it is now 2022, and if we don't start shifting culture in this young exec creative production world, then going back to the mass exodus, we're going to be down to nobody. So
you said you're a church refugee. You love the church, but you were burnt out and ready to walk away, become a cop. But then you end up at Amplio. Amplio is not a church, but it seems very much like the mission of Amplio is to serve the church. And can you talk about kind of the heart and the mission behind Amplio and what you guys are trying to do?
Yeah, so Amplio, we have a saying, we help churches. wehelpchurches.com is our website. It's a brand that we're getting ready to start really pushing and hammering.
We should have bought that URL first, man. That's a good one.
I know. When I found out we had that URL, I was like, how come nobody knows about this?
Yeah, we should use that.
That's a massive
great
URL.
URL.
wehelpchurches.com. Hello. And so we are really pushing that brand, or getting ready to. And so really, Amplio Systems started. Jeff Vandergeesen and Nate Krause came together, said we want to help churches with AVL Integration, and we want to really just do it out there. They're from Chicago. Not from Chicago, but that's where they came and started Amplio Systems. But at the core of who Jeff is, the CEO, Jeff Vandergeesen, he's a pastor at heart. He loves people, and he just wants to help churches in any way. And he has a team now around him who can help churches outside of the AVL world, including myself. I don't know a lot about technology. I'm not the guy that's in hanging speakers or any sort of install integration work. Not me. I'm not above it. I just don't know what I'm doing when it comes to it. So, but now Jeff has a group of guys around him that can really start helping churches in really all areas, whether it be strat op, campaign, marketing, fundraising, coaching, consulting. And so now Amplio Group has been really branded and formed. Amplio Systems now falls under that as a department. And so really we help churches in any way we can through that.
So you kind of stepped out of ministry and then back into ministry.
Yep.
On a, let's call it a parachurch organization.
Yep.
I know that's not the right term,
Yep.
but now you're actually doing ministry to like former you.
Yes.
You're like, hey, former
Yes.
me, I get you.
Yes.
Let me help you from out here.
Yes. That is that. If you were to say, hey, Dylan, how are you walking in your calling? I would repeat what you just said. So that is it. I told Jeff the very first phone conversation I had with him. It was a 2-hour phone conversation. I said, Jeff, if you're looking for someone who wants to come in and help churches, who is called to ministry, I'm your guy. If you're looking for someone to come in and just do A or just do B, I'm not your guy because I have no interest. It's not my passion. I have no desire to do that. But if you're looking for someone to come in and really spend time with churches and really focus on church health, church growth, work with leaders and challenge, and be encouraged, also be encouraged myself, add value, receive value, sign me up. So that's exactly right.
Okay, so you said it yourself. You're not the gear guy. You're not like the AV tech expert. So I think this is perfect because Blake isn't the gear guy is the overstatement of the year. Blake knows nothing about tech. Can you talk about something Amplio is currently working on or some project that you guys have worked on that like even you, the non-gear guy, is like, whoa, that was cool?
Well, yeah, I just stay on Saddleback because I just mentioned them earlier. So Saddleback was going through Saddleback in general, they couldn't do church inside. Like Pastor Rick was like, we're not doing church inside. It's not happening. So we're going outside. They built this massive truss structure. I mean, so massive that they could fit, I think it's like a couple thousand chairs in this thing. It's massive. And we need LED walls. We need all this stuff.
And they have the budget to do it.
They have the budget to do it. If you've never been to Saddleback campus, the one in Saddleback, I didn't know that was the area. That's what the area is called. You need to go check it out.
It's kind of like Disneyland without the rides.
Well, I heard Pastor Rick, that was his vision. He wanted the Disneyland of churches. And so when I'm there, I'm like, this looks like Disneyland.
Yes, that's what I felt when I went too.
I walked off this bridge that went to nowhere. I said, what is this bridge for? And they said, oh, this is where the monorail was being built. But when we got the final budget number for it, we decided even for us.
So Saddleback envisioned a monorail on their campus.
And actually, and today you can still walk out. I was there 3 weeks ago. You can still walk out and walk onto the where the monorail was being built.
Wow.
So anyways, Saddleback, man, they had this huge need for AVL. Amplio Systems was able to come in, provide the LED wall for them, get it set up, serve their teams that way. We go back into the auditorium, and they wanted to update all their broadcast cameras. Well, so the church trend today is from broadcast to cinematic. And so we went the cinematic route, went all red cameras, and really just working with their volunteers. Believe it or not, Saddleback is all volunteers. And so they have to train their volunteers and see this. So I was just there a few weeks ago, was able to capture that, see that, and watch Amplio just really help this church in this way with their camera package. So, being an Amplio for only 1 year, I have not seen or been a part of a lot of the install work. And so I would say today, that's one of the coolest things I've been a part of is just from an outsider looking in of the new camera package and all that stuff with the red stuff. Everything's red now and volunteer friendly. So
you've gotten to see a lot of cool upgrades as people have prepared. While COVID was a bummer, big opportunity to start doing live streams, get the message of the message out there more, and that's all been good. But give us some things that have not gone good. So we would love to hear a disaster live sound story or a disaster integrating story or production. Just
cool.
And it doesn't have to be Amplio. You can not throw your current employer under the bus if you don't want to.
I will. I definitely will.
Perfect.
Well, this is amazing.
Jeff is listening, by the way.
Phil, no pressure to include any names. It's really just like when you've been in the game as long as you've had a moment where you're like, oh crap, on the job, and we kind of want to hear about that moment.
Well, I can say right now, like in the integration world, I mean, it's the same thing as everybody. I mean, just getting gear, just getting the gear is the nightmare right now.
Is there a supply chain issue happening or something?
Yeah, a little bit.
So
so just that is a nightmare within itself. That's not just Amplio. That's, you name it. That's everybody. So I would say, man, the church production disaster story, I have several of them.
Oh, hit us.
And I did work at a church in Las Vegas called Central, where production is a big deal. And oversaw.
We were there 2 days ago.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Adam Taylor.
Yeah, I hired Adam, Drew Bodine, found him mixing on Instagram.
Really?
And Corey Edwards, I don't know if you know that name. He had just stepped off staff, and so we needed an audio director. And so Drew was like, we were desperate. I mean, we really care about audio. Audio is still something that the first thing I focus on when I get to a church if I'm coming from the eyes of production. And Drew loves audio. Like, we just loved audio. We wanted to be good. And we heard Adam on Instagram. That was before Reels, so it was like just story. And Drew was like, listen to this. We called Adam. We said, Adam, you got to come to Central and hang out. And he told us no, not interested. 4 hours later, he was like, well, it's basically a free vacation. I might as well take it. He came up, and now Adam is Adam Taylor and oversees everything I did. I mean, he has taken it to the next level 15 times fold, more than I could ever do. So Adam is one of my good friends, man. I just spent some time with him on the phone yesterday, actually. We're planning an NAB after party, so stay tuned for that.
This is such a great segue though, or not segue, but callback to another episode we did on a tech takeaway of if you want to be in this space, just start doing stuff. Even if it's only at your house, doing something on Instagram.
That's right.
Look at how that played out.
That's
I mean, that's amazing. I love it.
Can I share something real fast on that?
Yeah.
So just to encourage, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know where to start, well, you probably already have started. My encouragement to you is that always have a set of eyes and ears that's looking around to who's working around you, because that person could very well be the person that leverages you into what God is calling you to do at the level that you think he's calling you to do. Example, a buddy of mine owns a company called Streamline Productions out of Knoxville. They're like the LED provider for everything. And so LED wall provider. So as far as rentals go, and he was desperate. He needed a stage manager at the Assemblies of God event in Orlando. He called me up, dude, will you please be the stage manager for our event? I was like, yeah, of course, I'll do it. And so I went down there. I was serving, dude, I was a nobody. I was a stage manager, right? And I've actually written an article on how important stage management is, but I was a stage manager and I was treated like one. I was just stagehand. Nobody knew my background. Nobody knew anything I've done in my career. Nothing. And I just served these communicators well. That was my goal. Serve them well. Whatever your hand touches, do it with all your might. And that's where I was coming from. It wasn't my attitude at the beginning, but that's where I ended my attitude. I dropped a reel just a few days ago. It was on if I statements. Take if I statements out altogether. Get rid of if I statements. It's just, if you're in ministry, you don't have time to say if I. It's not about you. I dropped that reel. One of the main communicators from that AG event, who I mic'd up, he had no idea who I was. He followed me, reposted it, and said, "This is fire," shared it with his whole world of influence. And he had no idea that I was the dude just a year ago, micing him up on the side of the stage and sending him up on the platform. I actually DM'd him on Instagram. I said, "Hey, I don't ever ask anybody this. I find it to be extremely silly. Do you remember me?" That's all I said. Of course, he was like, "Nah, dude, you're making me feel old."
Oh, no.
He's like, "You're making me feel old. Like, where would I run into you at?" And I was like, "I was the guy that was bringing you a water on the stage. I was the guy that was making sure your shirt was cleaned. I was the guy that was making sure, your mic was on and ready to go and walked you up."
So you were being Blake, how he does to me.
Yes. Well, you said look for who's around you doing good work.
Yes.
Don't make me compliment him.
Yes.
But yes.
Exactly. And so that's my encouragement, man. You never know who's watching. You never know who's around you. And for this guy to repost this, it just was like, man, it could have been anybody. I could have done anything. My attitude could have been so poor that week that if he would have remembered me, there's no way he would have reposted. This guy's a jerk, man. He's not. So just you're doing it. God's going to put you in the right way.
You might become Adam Taylor at Central Church.
You never know.
Now, hang on. There is a tension here that I really want to chase down.
Because we still need that disaster story. Just letting you guys know.
That's right. Yeah, sorry, I can talk forever.
Disaster story's coming, but hang on. There's this great juxtaposition we're doing here where it's like, stay where you're planted and grow there, but then also people are leaving, but also continue to be awesome wherever you're at and in the moment. So is the kind of lesson or takeaway in that whole story of be great at whatever God's given you in this moment, and if he calls you somewhere else,
yes.
you go.
Yes.
But regardless of if you've gone yet, still be where you're at.
Yes, exactly right, man. In ministry, we have to always have an open hand policy. We can never have closed hands. And if God has put you in that position, if God has put you in the position to sell used gear, sell new gear, to be a stage manager, to be a stagehand, to be a worship pastor, if that's in the season you're in right now, Scripture does say, whatever your hand touches, do it with all your might. And that is Scripture. So it's not like, I get it, but I'm in a different season and I'm transitioning. No. Your hand is physically touching it, then get after and do it right. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, being where your hands are,
do you want
where did the hand touch it and not do it well in this?
Do you want the disaster story right
Yes.
now? Okay, great.
Yes.
I know that we've gone long, so I'm going to make this.
No, this is great.
No.
Okay.
No, you're
All
great.
Right. Okay, good. So, I don't even know if I'm supposed to tell the story publicly, but I'm going
yes,
to.
you
So,
are.
These are our favorite kind.
Central. We were in Christmas, and if Drew's listening to this, he's probably going, "Oh God, please don't share. Please don't share. Please don't share." We do at Central. We do big. I mean, we fly Santa Claus in. We have acrobats falling from the ceiling. We do the whole ordeal. It's just a massive production. And so we had just started that year partnering with Cirque. We had hired a lady to come in from Cirque, and she was kind of like our liaison. She was like, "Hey, we hired you. You go find all these Cirque people to come and do their acrobat aerialist falls and all that stuff." And the big Hope for All and the big music drops and these people fall out of the scene.
And I assume being in Vegas, like those people are not too far away oftentimes.
Not too far away
and
at
let's
all.
get some clarity. This is at Circo de Lay. This is not at church.
You said it perfectly, Blake.
Circo de Lay.
Circle delay. Hey, whatever you want to call it.
Is it a place or is it my order at lunch today? But okay, so
That's
it's not.
exactly
This
right.
is not at church.
This is church.
This is it church.
This is church.
This is Central Church in Henderson, Nevada,
Henderson,
outside of
Nevada.
Vegas.
And y'all are gonna have people doing acrobatics in the. Okay, keep going.
And they still do it today.
Okay.
It's massive. I mean, if we were to get free best show in Las Vegas magazine, that's what we wanted, because we believe, where sin is present, grace abounds all the more. And so people call us Sin City, but we're like, that's Grace City, because there's so much sin here. And Scripture says where sin is present, we believe grace abounds all the more. And so that was our drive. So if Las Vegas magazine came out and said, you have the best free show in Las Vegas, we were like, great. Because the only difference between us and all the other shows in Las Vegas is that you're going to get the gospel. You're going to hear who Jesus is.
And probably less boobies.
Less boobies. Well, I say that. You say that. I mean, it's not a normal for someone to stand.
Is that where this story is going for the disaster?
No,
story?
I'm sorry. I'm drawing it out. I said I wasn't going to do that. No, it was just
this is
very.
great.
It was just very normal for someone to come off the strip completely high or drunk. It's very normal for someone to walk up to one of our pastors and say, "Hey, my wife is upset with me because I keep sleeping with my girlfriend. I can't figure out why she's so mad at me about it." Like that's just normal. Okay, it's Las Vegas. It's just normal.
Hey, look, this is great. I mean, the healthy don't need a doctor. Go back.
100%, 100%. And so anyway, we had acrobats. I have video footage of this. I'm not going to share it with you, so don't ask me for it. But I have video footage where we are in the room. We're in rehearsals. We're in dress rehearsals right before doors, and before our first experience. And one of our aerialists, one of our bungees, snapped. She fell from the catwalks. Catwalks are 35 feet, 36 feet, 39 feet.
That sounds like a disaster.
So in the sense of her, she should have died, obviously. Very fortunate where it was a double point harness, left and right. And when she came down, one of her points broke, snapped out. And so what saved her life was her other side of her harness, and she slapped the ground and it threw her back up in the air. Well, I'm watching this as the producer of this experience. Like at the end of the day, below Drew Bodine, this falls on me, right?
And she's about to fall on you.
Yeah, 100%. She has fallen. And so, and now we're, as far as like legalities go and all that stuff, I don't even know if I have to save this, but we were safe because we actually asked the performers, you guys hire whoever you want, we'll pay for it. So they hired the number one rigging company to do this type in the world. They had 0 accidents in 35 years. It just so happened to be their first accident was under my watch in the worship experience that I was putting on.
Sounds like some spiritual warfare right there.
So we went the whole route. That was probably the biggest live. It was in rehearsal, so it necessarily wasn't live to public, but it was definitely live in the sense of this is happening.
Your heart's dropping out of your chest. So hang on. So she falls, slaps the ground, and then shoots back up. What happens to her now?
So everyone yells. Everyone's yelling. Stop, 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 stop. We have to bring her down. They lower her. We call 911. And we have to address the situation. They take her out by stretcher. And this is just the way God works. When we are working with these people in Vegas, most of our performers, not our worship leaders and our vocals and our band, all those guys we vet and they're Christians and they love the Lord. But most of our performers, they're not expected to be Christians. They're coming in for a paycheck and they're going to do their job and they're going to leave. In this sense, this girl who came in and fell and hit her head and all this stuff, we now as a church can be the church for her and her family. We step in, we provided for her. She's wearing a bunch of Lululemon clothes and she's fit and she's falling 35 feet out of the air. She's got to be in shape, right? Well, the paramedics have to cut all that off. Like they're like in prime time, like trying to get this girl the help she needs. And so, we're watching this going, we're gonna replace those clothes. We're gonna gift card her family $500 so that she doesn't have to worry about food for the next month. We're gonna step in to be the church. When she's in the hospital, the doctor said, "Hey, this is kind of a side different topic here, but we've actually noticed some spots on your brain that you would have probably ever known about." And we're just like, and this story is getting back to us, and so we're going to actually be able to treat that and save your life.
Are you kidding me?
True story.
So she's not hurt at all from the fall, but she did.
She was hurt. She had a concussion. I think she broke her pinky toe.
Okay.
And so she went in and the doctors were like, "Hey, we see the spots. We're going to be able to address this. We're going to save your life." And, so the fact that you fell and I'm just like, hello.
Praise God.
Is this not the way God works? So we used that story, right? And so she actually came back to the green room. We invited her back. She had sunglasses on because the show was too bright. It was triggering migraines because of her concussion. She came back. We gifted her in front of everybody. We prayed for her, and she had family and friends with her, and we were just able to be the church. So live disaster story to an actual story of healing and of is that not crazy? So
that's one of the best stories we've ever had.
I was just about to say that's the best disaster story conclusion.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly.
Well, hey, if I'm going to give you a disaster story, I'm going to give you the win out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we decided to introduce a brand new segment today, and
Nice.
you are our first guinea pig on this.
Hoorah.
It's a brutal one.
called
Love it.
Who Said It? So we have 3 direct quotes from.
Oh no, we got 4. If we can go with we can just go with 3.
Yeah. So these are either maybe a friend, maybe a coworker, maybe a current or former boss.
I'm probably not going to know any of them.
Somebody just in the general production world said these 3 things. So we're going to give you the 3 quotes, and then you have to tell us who said them.
Do I know these people?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So not like random, like.
No.
Okay.
No. So number 1, and I feel like this one should be said with an accent, so I'm going to say it that way. Well, there goes George Strait, not sticking with us as usual.
Let's give him the second one. I think
Next
he needs
one.
to hear all 3.
See, now I'm confused because.
Next one.
I'm so sorry, man.
Okay, the next one is, you're actually not a good enough singer.
Oh, this is brutal. There's only 3.
And I know these.
You do know these people.
Okay.
Yes. And the third one, I'd make fun of Dillan, but he's just so damn pretty. I really just am jealous.
Okay. Second one was Lee Fields. You're not a
Yes.
good enough singer.
Oh man, okay.
I got that one.
Yeah.
First one
Lee
was
totally threw you under the bus.
Yeah. First one was probably, which is a total lie. I'm an incredible singer.
Lee, your rebuttal will be
I'm
next episode.
I'm totally kidding. Okay, first one, George Strait. Okay, George Strait's confusing because, in Call of Duty, all of our names are George Strait, Toby Keith, Alan Jackson, and Garth Brooks. I'm Garth Brooks.
This is amazing.
And so it's very common for George Strait, who is Adam Taylor, to veer off and do his own thing when it comes to looting, and it drives all of us crazy. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a Call of Duty reference or if it's an actual thing. So I don't know. I don't know.
Well, let's just count it as you got it right because it was Adam Taylor who said that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Perfect. And then the third one, say the third one again.
I'd make fun of Dillan, but he's just so damn pretty. I really am just jealous.
Man.
That could just be any number of.
I mean, you have already gotten 2 out of 3
I know, it's
on
pretty
the
dang good.
premiere of this segment. So like you're set the bar high.
Yeah.
And like when Dillan walked up, I did think this is like a dude dressed in a color palette. Like he's looking good. His hair's spiked. Like I'm sure anyone
Blake,
could have
he's
said this
married?
about you.
You can't.
Well,
date him.
I'm going to take that page out of the book.
Yeah,
I'm
there it is. There it is.
I'm vamping to give you time to try to
No,
guess.
I love it. Man, man.
I'd make fun of Dillan,
I just
but he's
have
just
no
so pretty.
idea.
I'll give you a hint.
Yes.
You currently work with this person. This is an Amplio person.
Okay. I was gonna say it sounds like something Marcus Walker would say from Skylark Integration, but it's not him. Okay. I'd make fun of Dillan, but he's just too damn. I'm gonna say either Brian Turnbull or Jeff Anderson.
Brian Turnbull's right.
Yes.
Okay, no, this
Man.
is a bad precedent that you got all 3 on our
Yes.
first set time doing this. Like,
Yep.
that's a tough bar.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he set the bar. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Brian Turnbull's actually told me that before.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's fun. I think we would like to end on a tech takeaway. It's kind of how we do on every
do it.
episode.
Yeah.
This is essentially like helpful content for a church tech. Like this would help them when they're doing their Sunday service. And you consult for a lot of churches. So you've probably built up some pretty standard pieces of advice. You'd be like, hey, this will give you a better Sunday. So just give us some wisdom that you've accumulated on your time in the tech trenches. I know you're not a techie guy.
Yeah. No,
Closer
it's great.
to me
No, it's great.
in that-
It's great.
But this can also be philosophical. Honestly, most of them are. I don't think we've got a single one that's like on my Behringer's X32,
right.
on my channel 15. I always set my pre-whatever,
Right.
So
Yeah. Man, I would just say, when I transitioned out of being on the platform, I was asked by my mentor, what if you are a good worship leader, because he didn't know. If you are a good worship leader and people are telling you good job on Saturday and Sunday because of your talents on the platform, what would make you a better worship leader? I was like, man, what a great question. I thought about it and I said, if people started telling me good job Monday through Friday and the good jobs went away necessarily on Sunday and Saturday because they saw the value I was adding during the week as a pastor, as a leader, that's where I wanted to land. And so I say all that to say, there's so many details and so many things that go into putting on a worship experience for people. Focus on all those details. Make the smallest detail that no one cares about, that no one says matters, make that detail matter. And so just off my gut, I don't know why I say that instead of others, but man, you just got to make your Monday through Friday count. If people are walking into your weekend experience, those who serve on your team, and they're asking questions, I would reevaluate your week and probably put plans and systems in place where they're not asking you questions on the weekend because you've answered it all Monday through Friday. And so, when we show up to a football game, they're not airing up the footballs in front of us and lining the fields in front of us. That's all been done before we got there. And so my encouragement to you would be focus on your Monday through Friday. Don't be lazy. And then when Saturday and Sundays hit, go home freaking exhausted because you gave it everything you had. And I don't care if you're mixing on a X32 or a Digico. I don't care if you're playing with a Taylor or a Gibson. I don't care if you're a bass player. I don't care if you're a stagehand. It doesn't matter. Go home tired. Give it all you got. People need it. People need Jesus. And for whatever reason, you've been assigned for that weekend. So
all the little details that really go into making Sunday service, I didn't really appreciate them. One, until I took this job, but two, my best friend's a worship pastor.
Yep.
And you're hanging with your best friend, you're talking about how your week has gone and all that stuff. And I was blown away at all the different meetings he would have to not just talk about logistics of the worship service, but actually discipling them or being there for them. And all those things Monday to Friday, I was like, wow, okay. That's really how you're tying up to where Sunday everyone has been poured into. They know the plan, they've done the rehearsal, but you've also cared about them as a person. I was like, I see the full formula now. So I love that takeaway.
There's so much to it, man. And I could talk on that for hours, but there's a lot to it, man. You just my encouragement to you is it's just not about the gear. It's just not.
Hang on, wait, Toby, we sell gear, right?
You sell gear. I sell gear.
Uh-oh.
This isn't good.
I think
it's
we're
not
in the
about
wrong
the gear.
business.
Yeah, it's just not about the gear. I think we all are mature enough to know that. Gear's great. We use gear. We utilize gear. I utilize gear to reach people, but it's not about that. Keep doing it. Obviously, it pays all of our bills. We're very thankful for it. But don't get lost in just constantly trying to be only making what you do as far as task goes better. You have to make yourself better in so many other ways first. Health is a big one. Boom. I'm going to just say it.
Yeah, it seems kind of don't let yourself get siloed into the only part of your job. Yes, the gear, but also the people and also
focus on your health. Focus on your health, your spiritual life. Everything's got to come before it. That should be Monday through Friday. Absolutely priority. And the game day gets here. Stephen Brewster says, it's just not any other Sunday. Get it done. You're walking into Super Bowl Sunday every Sunday. And that you're based off how you perform during the week, during your rehearsals and practices and details and coaching and talking and planning will be based off how if you win the Super Bowl or not on Sunday. So
yeah. Well, speaking of details that matter, you got any plugs you wanna put for the guest if someone wants to reach out or hear more from you? I mean, where should they find you? You can also say no. I mean, but
yeah, no, that's great. I mean, honored you even asked that. Yeah, I mean, I've March 1st. This March 1st, 2022, I'll just say it because it's a podcast and you never know when someone's going to listen to this. I released a bunch of articles and blogs and podcasts, and that's just DillanHowell.com.
I'll include that in the show notes.
Yeah, great. Thanks. And then, of course, Amplio Group, WeHelpChurches.com, Amplio Systems. Man, if you have any need of any sort or just need somebody to talk to, hit us up. We'd love to come and hang out and chat. And
how often are you really just doing therapy at Amplio?
I'm very fortunate in my role at Amplio. I don't even talk about what I do. I host events. I'm a brand awareness guy. I get to focus on church leaders and just get the brand out of Amplio. So a lot of my conversations have adapted to keeping men and women in ministry of some sort. If someone is I was just listening to a podcast this morning where Ukrainian refugees are fleeing. And the difference is that my mind thought these refugees are not fleeing for a better life. They're fleeing for life. It's either life or death. They're not fleeing for a better life. They're fleeing because they are going to be killed. And they believe that. And so they're fleeing. And so if I'm talking with a church guy or church girl where I feel like, hey, their mentality is I'm fleeing for a better life, my challenge there is stay where you're at. Here's some steps to go into. That's a very common conversation to kind of go back to what you were saying earlier. But if you're fleeing for life, like I kind of was, then then we transition you off and try to put you in the church integration world or try to keep you in ministry but do it a different way. And there's some that are just like, hey, I'm ready to go be on and go sell houses, which is fine. So we just transition those guys off. But yeah, a lot of my conversations are that right now.
Dillan, I love that. That really ties up this whole episode into a neat little bow. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. And hey, congratulations on surviving Sunday. If you happen to make it through next Sunday as well, join us again for your weekly Tech Breather.
Blake, do you know what the sexiest words I've ever heard on Dillan's website are?
Oh, I would love to hear them.
It's doing it with who you love can take you a long ways.
Oh, I think that's very true. And so if I was going to do it with who I love, I would say, who do I love right now? I should text them this episode. Just, share the link, text it to them.
And text it in this voice. It's very sexy.